sorry, I just started recording, so burn that all into your memory, although we can cover it again in a minute here, and we will for a number of reasons. So I'm going to adjust the annotated because it's showing as decimal. I need it to be feet and inches, and I want to just see what options I have. So when I go to modify, I can see that I have a number of units to choose from. Decimal, engineering, architectural, fractional, scientific. Architectural is most commonly what we choose when we want to have feet and inches. So I could have 1 foot, 0 inches. This is just showing you inches right now, but that's the one you choose. That's what her standard is set up to be. When I go to fractional, you can't tell from here, but what that means is kitchen and bath. So that's where they're only going to show fractions, whereas I might have 1 foot if I choose architectural. My fractional will show up as 12 inches. Everything will be in inches. There will be nothing in feet. So if you were creating a kitchen and bath dimension style for yourself, you would have to change this to be fractional. Your precision is really up to you. You saw that it matters when we bring in something that has great precision. So like that SketchUp file, it got all wonky because it was way past this precision and my precision wasn't on and it didn't match up. Most of the time we work in 1/2 inches in kitchen and bath, but if you want greater precision you can. It's not going to hurt anything. Fractional format, don't touch this. Most of these things you wouldn't touch. Okay, so that's the basics of how to modify this. Let's look at just other things we could change in here. So I could change its color to be adjusted to be on the core layer, which would then adjust the other values of its line weight and type and color. I could make it its own color, so it's just going to be red, and you can see the dimensions then turn red. And a lot of you have already adjusted colors for this, so you've probably been in here. Line type, I can make it hidden, so you can see now it's dashed like this. Line weight, I could make it super thick and chunky, which isn't very good, so I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to do it by layer, and I'm going to do this by layer again. So we can mess with these pretty easily. Extend beyond ticks and baseline spacing. The computer defaults these pretty well without your help. I want to tell you this, so I want to give you my experience working in the field. Modifying dimensions and setting up certain types of text files, well, at face value they seem easy, and especially in the generation of click, 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 you know, they're not. So there's lots of reasons, like some of the annotated values to why this is 1/16 and to why the length is 1, or this is this one, this is 1/16. Most companies hire in a professional just to set these up for their company. So I worked at one of the 2 biggest contract furniture stores locally, and they were like, we don't touch it. We just have it labeled as our textile and our different dimension styles, and we never set them up. So if something would go wrong, really wrong, we'd usually have those professionals come in and correct it, and they'd be paid just to do that. So I'm going to show you as much as you need, and then I have taken the time, the 3 hours last night, to create a bunch of styles for you that you're going to copy using the Design Center. I can give you the basics of what went into them, but I don't want to overload you with that because that's not your job, to be honest with you. You could Google it if you want to, but I'm not trying to overwhelm anyone. So symbols and arrows. Closed filled. We have dot is popular. People like dots. I like dots, but most of the time we're working with closed filled arrows. Sometimes we're working with architectural ticks. If you're going to do kitchen and bath plans, you want to use architectural ticks. If you look up the NKBA standards, they standardly use the architectural ticks instead of the arrows. I can change the arrow sizes, so you saw the ticks got thicker, and it defaults to arrow because that's the number 1 used, but what it means is symbols on each end of these lines for the dimension. I can change the center mark. Let's see what that means. So you could have lines to where it like pulls to the center and meets, but that's the center of the object. That's not the center of the dimension. Okay, so I don't feel like they're all that necessary to change from the little ones that we have. Break sizes, jog height. Let's see if it'll show you that change. I didn't think it would. So it'll like push the letters more to the left and the right, and you can change your alignment. You can change, yeah, so none of these really, I'd never touch them. I'd touch arrowheads, I'd change the text, I would change the fit sometimes, but not usually. So this is annotated because it's checked as annotated. I said we'll talk about what that means. Then primary units we know is very important. We always have to set this if we're creating something new. It's most likely going to default to decimal. Alternative units don't touch, and tolerances do not touch. Okay, so I'll show you some of the ones I created and talk about some of the number changes and why they were important. So that's under your modify dimensions. Again, you can change, so I could go back to standard. I changed this. Now I could go back to my standard dimensions if I don't want annotative, and I could set it current, and then when I close out of here and I go under annotation, and it's the second one down when I hover, you can tell because the little symbol has a paintbrush with a dimension line. So here's paintbrush text, paintbrush dimension style, and multi-leader style, which you learned from this last session, is a little arrow guy with the text coming off of it. So when we want to point something out in a detail drawing, for instance. So all this can be changed from there. And when I'm under here, the multi-leader guy has his own styles. The text has its own styles. I had to do one that was called notes. And I think that's the next thing to talk about on the agenda. So let me come out here. Text copying from file to file. Why we use the design center more than copy and paste. Let's do that one first, and then we'll move on to non-annotative objects. So there's like little things that I don't think about. I try to think about everything, but when I'm making homework files for you that are intuitive to me, or I just haven't done them, or we did them differently last year, and one of them was the city blueprint text. So like I said, our old text file that we did last year in the class and the old book was so step by step. You just did every little thing. So we ended up creating our own text file, which was great, but it was defective. And same thing with our dimension style, and I ended up just having to load them in. So I didn't want to overcomplicate things, but what I did was told you to copy that notes file. So I'm going to pretend I'm you, for instance. I go to class sessions from this last session, session 6, site plan drawing ahead. Homework and quiz. And font copy drawing. I'll download it and I will open it. Okay, so it's going to work for me. It just is. And it's because my computer's been set up. But how many of you selected this, hit Control-C, or copied it to your clipboard, and then you went into your Shemaine file and you pasted it, and it didn't look like this? It came in as block letters. Okay.
Yes,
so,
that's what happened to me.
So if that happens, it's just that your AutoCAD is so new on your computer that you've never used that text font. So it brought in all the properties of my notes font, which I had over here. So you can see when I select on this, and if I go to text and I have multi-line text and I check it, it's on notes. I can see what that looks like. When I click on it in manage, so drop down again, I can go to notes and then manage style, because that was what I wanted to copy. I can see from the management menu the font name, the font style, the font height, and the width factor. Notice that this notes does not have a little triangle. The triangle always denotes that it's annotative, which is what we're going to talk about next. So this is just plain old notes. It's not any different than if I was in Shemaine's file and she has stuff in here under her text and annotation, like her Roman. So like her Roman, anything without a triangle, these are all pretty much the same thing as I have, except the wrong font style. So she could technically have not copied my style, but I thought that it would just come in because I didn't know you had to preload it by management text styles. So if she wanted to change her Roman text, she could do manage text styles and she would just change Roman from Roman. Of course, that one's Roman, so she might as well create a new one. But she could type C, which will bring up all the C's. She could type CITY, and it'll start bringing up City Blueprint. And it's just a change in the style of the font, apply, and you can see it applied in the corner what it's going to look like. And there's only regular for the font style, so we couldn't have accidentally chosen bold. So that would be the only correction. That's a fault on my side. So if like that was the big flaw in your homework and you wondered why it wasn't cursive, you didn't email me. Some of you, I had you in the lab, so we fixed it, or you figured it out on your own. That's great. I'm not going to ding you for it as long as it's the right height, okay? So that's how we fix it. Just wanted to go through that and what happened. I can't try this myself. So I needed a student to do this for 5 imaginary bonus points towards your grade. I wanted to know if my gut tells me that I had been you and I had the same file, and instead of copying and pasting it, I had gone to insert and then gone to the design center and then found the font copy file. I had to be in my, actually I'd have to be in my Shemaine file to do it. And then found the font copy in here, double clicked, and then there's dim styles, and then you would have only seen notes as far as I think. Dim styles. Oh, no, I'm not thinking of that. Font copy, where is it? Text. Do I see text? Text styles. There we go. So notes. And then I dropped and dragged the notes guy in here. I don't know why it doesn't want me to do it. Hold on. It's dinging at me. I'm going to do it one more time. Design Center, font copy, text styles, notes, and drag it. It should just drag. Let me see if it's having... Can someone do this in real time with me? Like a real human being working on the other side? Because I had no problem using... This is exactly how our Design Center is supposed to work. So let me close all of this stuff out. Close this out. I'll keep that guy open. I have this guy open, this guy open. Go to the Design Center. Okay, there, let me do it. So I could have picked that, or I could have gone to font copy and text style and clicked notes and then dragged and dropped. So I have to click and hold and drop, okay? And then my gut tells me if I did that, it may have kept the slanting, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think that's why this is the better option, is it can bring in things that your computer isn't familiar with yet from another file without the current file having to have that properties loaded in. Okay, so going forward, if you have the option and it's not working and something changes, give it a try this way. Although hopefully going forward you just have better instruction. So that reviews the Design Center. It reviews text, how to change and modify our text. Now I want to talk about annotative versus non-annotative text. So if I'm in Shemaine's drawing and I click on kitchen, I can see that it's 6 inches height. So what does that even mean to me? Well, I know it's like 6 inches, like a wall thickness, but it doesn't mean much to me when I want to print something to scale. So like when I print something at 1/4 of an inch, so it might not be the right scale. And I'll show you what I mean. All my info across the top disappeared. How do you get it back? Your bar disappeared, your ribbon.
Yes, I was trying to find the design center and I clicked on something and all of a sudden everything just pared down to
Try
some really
typing
basic
ribbon.
things.
Try typing the word ribbon.
Okay, nothing.
No, I can't even close my ribbon. Here's the drop down, so minimize tab. If I push this up, did you just do this, Trisha? See my screen? Did you just accidentally hit this guy where you need to drop it back down?
Maybe. Let me see.
There's a little arrow.
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think if you actually had closed it, then you should be able to type the word ribbon, just like I would. It says remove horizontal ribbon, but if I type ribbon down here, you could click it and it should pop your ribbon up, technically.
Great.
So kitchen is 6 inches height. The book last year wanted everything to be created in the layout space. Okay, so here's my layout. It's called a layout because eventually the architect's going to get all of these that he could print from a PDF or just print from here onto his plotter at home. And it's going to be on paper. So it's showing on paper. It's showing me my title block. If I come into the title block and you all have this nice ArcD because it started you with it, you can double click it. And by double clicking, this is where you can enter your project, the date, the scale, the sheet number, and so on and so forth. And that's all of these little pieces that you need to adjust. If I double click on value, it gives me into that place. If I click on these things, it shows me revision would be put up there, okay? So we'll eventually do that. We might type on top of it in some instances or add things like a logo and our name in the project and client bigger up here. But this is what we would use to actually print. You can print from model space. It's pretty archaic. Well, I feel bad about that. That's what I learned to do when I was a student. That's how Cheryl most often prints, I think. But it's not as precise and clean and beautiful, and you have to bring in your own title block instead of having this nice setup one. You have to scale it a special way and rotate it. Why do that when we can create these sheets and then right-click them and adjust what we need to from inside this layout? It's nice and orderly. So what I do need though on my sheet, if I'm Shemaine or you, is to make a viewport to have a window from my layout space into my model space, okay? So I want to type in viewport, and you could choose a variety here. Single, vertical 2, horizontal. So this is showing you you're going to have 2 boxes. So like let's say I want to show my kitchen drawing in one window and I want to show the floor plan of that kitchen elevation in another window. I could do 2. Most typically we'll use 1 for this example. For equal, let's see if they have free, or that might be something we cover another way. Named viewports, this doesn't matter to us. So that might be if you create your own style, maybe like 5 or 6, but we're going to use single. You just click on it and you click OK. Then it's going to say specify first, corner, or. I'm going to specify on the screen what I want. I want a pretty big window, and look, everything magically appears. This is exactly what it sounds like. So it's a viewport. It's a window into my black model space. I'm kind of like playing God here. I can see everything that's going on in there, and I could start scrolling around. Well, I think I could, but most of the time, let's see. If if I double click, okay, this is letting me. You might have a problem. I didn't have it last year, but my students did, where this got locked from down here. There was a little lock that showed up, and it's not showing on my computer, and I don't even know if I can get it to show up on my computer. Let's see if I have an extra tab when I right click down here. About ready to throw this mouse at the wall. Hold on, I'm going to unplug and put in a different mouse. It's a 10-second process. Okay. No, it's not going to let me pull up anything else. If I go to the options, quick properties on, let's see what else there. Selection, cycling, line weight, dynamic input was missing, coordinates. So like you can turn things on just like what I'm doing. Lower right hand corner, it just means anything missing from the menu. So now I can see my coordinates, now I can see everything that's going on in here. But sometimes, like if I connect on this box, okay, there we go, I got it to show up. So it was just that it wasn't selected. Sometimes this will come in, and notice when I click on this viewport outline, then this little lock, selected viewports are not locked, might be locked, and when it's locked, I can't do anything to it. And some people couldn't get past that point. So you need to unlock it if it comes in and isn't letting you double click to get into your other window. So now that it's unlocked, I can click off of it and just double click into the center of that rectangle window I created, and now I can figure out what pieces I want to print. So Shemaine really likes number 2, but I want it to be to a right scale. Right now in the lower right hand corner, it's some odd decimal that's not very helpful to the architect. And I could click the drop down arrow to find common scales that would be on my architectural ruler. Okay, so if I scroll down a little bit more with this lighter medium gray scroll bar, I can see a quarter, 3/8, 1/8. We're going to do a quarter. So I was pretty close. Notice, like, sure, I got this to be a quarter. If I pan, see my little hand tool, I'm panning by holding the center clicker. I didn't hurt anything. And get used to this because this is the same thing for SketchUp. So it didn't change my scale. The moment I scroll in and out, it goes back to being odd decimal. So if you like what it is when it becomes a 1/4 inch, that's why you might use that lock. So I have to put it back to a 1/4 inch, and now I'm like, okay, I don't want to mess with this, so I'm going to lock it. And then once I know that's the only thing that I'm going to use, I'm good to go. So before you lock it though, I'm saying, well, I see a little bit to the right and left. Let's unlock it and at least change our boundaries of our thing. So I think I'm going to try this 2 ways. So one thing that you could do is double click outside. So now I'm out of the window. Does everyone understand that? This was a big deal last year. We had to spend 2 weeks on it. So when I double click in here, I'm looking into the model space, but I'm not actually in it, okay? So you could delete things and everything, but we're not actually in it. It's going to be hard to understand. When I double click outside, anywhere outside this rectangle, I'm outside. Now when I zoom in, it's going to take the whole thing with me. I'm outside of my model space in my layout. All right, I'm going to assume we understand that. So now that I'm outside and don't have it clicked in, I can adjust this just like scaling anything or cropping anything in another program. So I'm going to say I don't want to see the rest of this. I have my ortho locked in, which I have to unlock in order to move these. So good to know if yours is stuck. Notice that down here I unchecked this little ortho mode, the little right angle in the corner. I still want to cut off information. Okay, that looks beautiful. So now I'd be fine, and I could leave it as is. If I wanted to, I'm never going to change it. I could lock it, but I still might do some work. So I know from Shemaine's work, we measured this text and it was 6 inches. But what does that even mean to me when I go to print at a 1/4 inch scale? So you remember from hand drafting, like sometimes you would use your architectural ruler and you would set up your top line for the text and the baseline, and then you would go within them to create a certain height. Annotative is basically that. It's the most precise way to know exactly what height in inches you are drawing your text for when you're going to print. I'll show you the difference. So I've got to pull up this ridiculous chart. If I go to the new class session, session 7, okay, so this is a whole nother chart. We got a lot of charts this week. Under homework and quiz, I've supplied you with the scale of factor text PDF. Aha. Okay, so Shemaine has, we're going to try and print our drawing at 1/4 inch, what I just set it up to be, equals 1 foot. That's what's happening in that window. Shemaine has her text at 6 inches. Okay, so if I go to 6 inches at plotted height text for 1/4, let's see, 1/4 plotted height text, 12 is here, and 1/4, you're going to see the difference. So Shemaine's is 6, which is an 1/8 inch plotted height text annotative. So 6 inches in model space is an 1/8 inch plotted height text annotative. So annotative text is a real special deal. So if I'm an annotative text, first let's check what she's got here. She already has, you all have, this guy, right? That's set up as annotative. Everyone should have an annotative notes of some type with the little annotative triangle. We could change him if we wanted to, and just for sake of example, I'm going to change it because let me tell you this. All text styles or fonts aren't created equally. So like an 1/8 inch height of Times New Roman is going to be a different size than an 1/8 inch height of City Blueprint, just like it could happen in Word where it's a little bigger, a little smaller. So we're going to have to manage this style by going to Manage Styles, and you have to pick over here our annotative text, and then we're going to type in City Blueprint, and then we're going to click Apply, and then we're going to close. Okay, so annotative text is only going to work out when we do it in our layout, but in our model space within the layout. So I'm not going to grab my text tool now to test this whole height theory and start typing like this, because watch what happens. Hi there, and it's at 1/2 inch height. Let's see, I'll put it at 1/8 inch height. And I'll select it before, make sure that it actually got changed. Okay. Okay. So it might work, but it's on top, and I'll show you what happens. Move. So hi there looks close. What about if I capitalize the words and make it kitchen? Okay. All right. So what that tells me is when I print this, it's going to be an 1/8 of an inch high for 1/4 inch. So that's telling me her 6 inches in model space is actually an 1/8 inch high for 1/4 inch. All right. So what happens though in here, watch when I double click into the window, because I put this text on here without double clicking into here first. So now I'm double clicking inside of that viewport. Oh no. There's my text sitting on top, just like a real window of a window, like a real window. It's like a little fly on it that I can't get off, and now I can't see what I want to see. So that's not what I want, because if I remove my drawing, it doesn't go anywhere with it. But it's still an option if you know you are happy with your drawing and you want to know what in inches you're using specifically to scale. You could use the 1/8 inch scale and know how it's going to be. Okay, so I'm going to double click back out here. and find the word kitchen that isn't the real word kitchen and delete it off. What the old book used to want to teach was for you to create a viewport, get inside the viewport and make sure that your building was to 1/4 inch scale, and then after you did that, you are supposed to use your annotative text, just multi-line is fine, and make sure that it was on annotative. Let's see, it changed on me. Annotative. Okay, we're good. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart. So once that's set up there, then we come in and then we can just click our guy, and I could put it on in here and say kitchen and make sure that it's adjusted for the height I want, which is 1/8 inch. And it'll adjust to the size. And then I would be okay. But I'd want to lock it. So like I'd want to make sure I was more zoomed in so then I could place it if I wanted to. So I move it like this. Remember, when we're moving things, we're moving objects. We're not scrolling in and out because that'll adjust this 1/4 inch. Let me see if, I'm going to double click out of here for a second. If I, so I'm going to lock this for a second. If I lock it and double click in, all it does is lock my view, but I could still move my text. So that's probably what you want to do if you don't want to pan in and out. You want to make sure that you lock it and then double click in so you could move in to place your kitchen word then where you want it to be. So there I've placed my kitchen word and it's at 1/4 inch, and then I can double click out. But notice what happens if one day I'm like, oh, I've got to quickly get this to a client and I'm going to adjust this so that it's at 1/2 inch scale real quick and zoom in on my kitchen space a little bit. So I'm going to zoom in. Oh, I got to unlock it. Zoom in by clicking the drop down arrow and I click 1/2. Kitchen, where did you go? It totally disappeared. That's because it's annotative and it's set to only show up at the height of what the window was set at originally. So my viewport was set at 1/4 and the words existed. When I take it away and I unlock my viewport and then suddenly change it to 1/2, that alignment or the scaling I did that was set to 1/4 no longer applies and it totally disappears. It's so strange. So the answer, Emily, to why we do that is there is no difference. So I know that now, except for the fact that when you do it in here, you match the scale to the text, and then the correlation is that this chart is showing us if we're in our model space, these are the numbers at these certain sizes. If we're actually using our like 1/8 inch, this is equal to annotative. So annotative 1/8 inch is equal at these sizes to 6 inches for a 1/4 inch scale. Does that make sense, everybody? Because it took me like 3 years to get it. So if it doesn't make sense to you, I'm not surprised.
It makes more sense to me now.
Okay, good. What do we want to talk about? Not yet. Okay, so let's like do it like the mole people who just do things because they have to for homework, okay? Because there's like, that's okay. That's totally okay. It might click. I want it to click, so where they did it, they only did it the awful way with the window where it disappears and then everyone gets mad at me later for their homework. So I'm going to have you do it both ways. Let's take a look at what our homework is, okay? So there's 3 homeworks. Yay! So we have add text to drawing. That's where these things are going to apply. But we also need to create some things for printing and plotting before we even add our text. So I want to open, though, it comes with the scale factor. It comes with all the PDFs. of what your final text needs to look like on a sheet, but we haven't reviewed yet how to create more of those architectural D-size sheets in order for you to put labels on everything and have completed sets. So close out of that. Let me open Add Text to Scale rubric so you can see what that'll look like. That's not it. It's thinking slowly but surely. Yes, Word. Okay, so you must do core text using this method. For all other plans, you may use the heights given and convert to the correct inches measurement in model space. Make sure all of your fonts are City Blueprint. Okay, so everyone's clear in chat on how to convert fonts to City Blueprint. And I'm telling you, your fonts are no different than the fonts I had you load in, except for that I had it as City Blueprint. There was no special sizing. I just changed the font and the name of my style. So you could create a new one this week if you wanted to and make it City Blueprint and use it. Okay.
So just to verify, is City Blueprints the same as Notes?
So no, Notes is the if it came in cursive when you use the file copy, then that was Notes in the style of City Blueprint. City Blueprint is just a font style name. So
okay,
if you're in...
There should be one labeled City Blueprint and one labeled Notes.
No, ma'am. So if I go back under annotation, that's okay. So like there's going to be whatever you have. Most likely, if you're just like a new file, before you copied mine, you should now have, this is what you looks like after you copied mine. You should have standard, annotative, and most likely notes. Unless a few rolled in with your, when you copied over the blocks and it brought in some text. But notes would be what you copied over. It'll be just notes plain. And then when you open notes by managing the text style, you want the font name style to be City Blueprint, and that's what makes it look like this, because you guys had it on something different, and so it was all straight and it didn't work out for some of you. Some of you it might have copied just fine, but City Blueprint is just the font. Okay?
Okay, and mine looks just like that, so
perfect.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. So if we go back to this rubric, what I'm saying basically is I do want to see one really annoying core text using this method. So by the core, what I really mean is the floor plan. So just the building without any furniture in it needs to have the text, whatever text you use, has to be put on the actual architectural D sheet, and you have to scale it to be 1/4 of an inch, and then you have to start using your different text heights the way that I showed you to do the text heights today with annotative. So again, if you had it all like this with your window, we created a viewport first by typing viewport, then I come and I start scrolling in, I get close, then I drop down this arrow for my setting of my annotative scale, and then I'm going to pick 1/4. 1/4 is a nice normal floor plan. Then I'm going to make sure I have only what I want. I might have to like double click off, click the exterior boundary and move it in just with the nodes, just clicking the corners. Then once I'm sure I have what I want to come in here, but I'm Shemaine and I don't have any of this text, okay? So it's difficult for your 108 people at this point because you have so much done, but you should have a plan view. I think what I'm going to ask you guys to do is just like the floor plan of whatever you're closest with, and whatever text height you want it to be, it has to be that inside for your core on the actual layout. okay? So like say she wanted it to be 6. She has to do it in here with annotative text by then double-clicking into the layout, coming up to her normal multi-liter text, making sure that it's truly annotative. That's been set up with City Blueprint as well. So this is where you use annotative with the City Blueprint setting. She clicks on that to make sure I see it. It looks like City Blueprint and annotative. Okay, I'm ready to just roll. She wants to make sure though, okay, quick step, that it is locked so then she can zoom in and out without moving it. Lock. Then when she double clicks, she doesn't have her kitchen label. She's going to come into her text and she's going to pick her multi-line text. She's going to make a word box and she's going to type in 1/8 up here, inch, and then type kitchen and then click off. Okay, so you're going to have to play a little bit with your scales, although you'll be able to look at mine and see with the Word document like 1/8 equals a little thing, 1/2 equals a bigger thing. But if you think about it, this is a 1/4 of an inch scale of the whole building, and then you're thinking this is only an 1/8 inch size text, so if I wanted something bigger, I would go up the next scale. So like a 1/2 would be much bigger, a 1/4 would be bigger than that. So if you have bigger text and you need to show that, you can, or if you just want to use that and show me all these labels at 6 inches for 108 students, that's fine. My students, for your empty floor plan, it's going to be a lot simpler than that because you haven't modified it. So when you look at your floor plan, non-108, ours is real basic. Ours is just this one without the walls, okay? And then I've given you what height to make pipe chase, what height to make low brick wall, and what height to make down. And then everyone needs to have the word floor plan. And really it'd be best if all of you put in the down and the low brick wall because those are just extra information for your contractor. Everyone needs pipe chase, down, low brick wall, and for 108, any of your room names that you've put in. How do you get the leader line to bend? Oh, yay! See, Trisha, I said that that would come up. When you change that, it'll automatically change all the text within the drawing. Let me scroll up and see how many questions popped up. Okay, so Trisha, what were you, when you were asking when I change what, will that automatically change? Oh, if I change the text style, like what? Like the note style and you had typed notes, will it automatically change everything once I change the font?
I think you were just trying to fill in a word that was missing when you were in the architectural D document, and I thought you were trying to change all the text. So I think I misunderstood that. You were just bringing in one word to match the rest, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
And at the time, I thought you were going in and trying to change all the text.
Oh, no.
So, okay.
But I think that is a good question, and we might come back to it. Let's see. When you change that, well, automatically change. How do you get the leader line to bend? Okay, we'll talk about that. Heather, were you able to like figure out the instructions for the homework so it looks right? Like by clicking a leader line and then clicking off and then starting your own text?
Yeah, I kind of like made it work. I don't think I bent mine. I just had straight leader lines.
Okay, so let's see. And I'll make sure it's not just a difference in like a Shemaine file versus ours because we did. So there's a lot of stuff like I'm just going to give you guys tonight. So if I have a Shemaine file and I click leader and then I come in and let's see. I'm going to come in here and start it. So hello there. You were saying you couldn't get it to bend, or was it just that you didn't know you could elongate this line by clicking the arrow?
I wondered what that little thing was, but my eyes suck. I
Okay.
don't know. I guess I didn't realize that that was already bent.
Yeah, so all I did, and I only have what she has. I didn't load anything new into her file. So if I click leader and then I click a point and then before clicking again, I pull up and diagonally, then it already starts typing it up in straight. So I could say hello there, and we'll make it bigger font so you can see that. Maybe that'll help with some things. 6 inches, we know that Shemaine loves that size. So then there is, if you zoom in, this little arrow here, okay? So if you click a little arrow, you can extend it as far as you want to. You can click it again, and if you don't want to commit to that and take it back, but I want to make sure I turn off my snaps to do it, I think. Yep, got to turn your snaps off if you want to put it back. And that's how that works. So that was a good question. The other thing was what I did in some of the cases where the arrow wasn't going the way you wanted, like I guess if it was here and it wasn't working out, let's see. I know there's no space, but we'll live and we'll make it bigger. Okay, and then we're gonna rotate it. So you can rotate it just like anything else. And if I have my arrow here, I can put it here. People were saying, like, what do I do? I can't, like, that happened. How to get the arrow on the other side? Is that one of the questions that we had?
Yes.
Okay. So how do I get the arrow on the other side? Be like, that's a good question. We won't answer that today. So we have our arrow here. I want to check something first because there's like a couple ways that I'm thinking I can do it. So I just created my arrow. And I think I finagled it. Can I look at the original file? So if I go to it, and that one was my reflected ceiling plan, I believe, that had the guy on that side. He might have been, hey, is Caitlin Catanza right here? Yay, nay? Yeah, she is. She just can't talk, probably. Is that the one where you made the arrow first and then modified it? Because that might have been what happened. Just like in the other ones where I made the arrow and then placed it and then clicked off, and then I could mirror it about that way and then take it and so mirror, shift this. I need to turn on something like that green line guy. Okay, enter. So that's how I get the arrow that way. Then I can rotate it this way, and then I could just add text, like normal multi-line text to the side of it without telling you how to adjust a ridiculous multi-leader. I can see if I can find a better way, but I'm pretty sure that's the way I did it last time. And then I turn the text aside and rotate it this way and move it into place and move my arrow. But my arrow is little, so I might need to adjust the size of it like I did for homework. So all of you should have adjusted your arrow sizes and it's bigger, but that's how I could change that, finagling it, which is probably what you did, Heather. Is that right? Kind of?
Yeah, I just kind of turned them.
Okay. So that's okay as long as this little guy is still going the right way. Because you saw without the mirroring, it would have been going the wrong way and then the text would have been next to it. So I'd still want that to be like that. Let me go ahead and check back here. Okay. So Word document. So for instance, pipe chase is 1/8 inch height. That's where it'll tell you, okay, then I use my annotative text in the window, in the layout, at 1/8 inch height for the words pipe chase. That's the only one you have to do annotative. The rest, I'm fine with you doing the 6 inches instead or whatever you just know is the appropriate size in your document. I just need to see you understand annotative and building something within a layout. So everyone has to do their core like this, plus whatever little notes 108 adds, they should do them like that for their layout as well. The reflected ceiling plan and everything else can be however you want to do them. So you can do them annotative, like I just showed, or you can do real basic people stuff, like going in to your drawing and figuring it out, you know, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to label the middle of my house for some reason. I'm just going to scale this text. And it needs to be this big because this is an important area. Okay, so we scaled it and that's great. If I double click on it and I want to know what that scale changed, it's 4'2" and 7/8, which is an unfortunate size, but that's okay. So you can do that, and when you go to print it'll be fine, but you don't know exactly what it is on an architectural scale, and that's the only bad thing I can see about it. And it's more of like a precision thing, I think, to know what it is if you're going to hand draft it. But that's pretty lenient. Just letting you guys do it that way so that we don't have any issues with how do I set all of this. We'll just have one page that people are confused about for a little while. So looking at the chart, that's how we know. We go to 1/4 inch and I can see what I'm dealing with is those text plotted heights. So when I say 1/8 text plotted height, that's going to be the same as 6 inches in the actual model space. 3/16. So I haven't like forced you to figure much out because in the Word document I tell you the heights for the annotative text. Okay? All right. So we'll close out of that. Let's go to the class session again and look at our video agenda. I think I know what I'm doing next, but okay. So we've done text copying from file to file, non-annotative objects, annotative objects, dimension chart, and then after that, improvising with text and multi-leaders. We actually just covered that. So that was how I did the rotation with the arrow and the mirroring. Exterior elevation and SketchUp and plotting. Okay, so plotting we have to get to for our homework. We've got a half an hour to do it. If I go to homework, you also have a PDF plotting template set up for this week. And what I'm asking you to do is plot the following drawings at 1/4 inch equals 1 foot to D-size layout with the title block loaded in from CAD, which you're lucky. This year they already gave you that. You have ArcD set up. Plot a zoomed view in at 1/2 inch equals 1 foot of your kitchen layout. So that's just to see that you can change scale and everything. You need a core drawing, a reflected ceiling plan, a site plan, and a section drawing of all of these 4 1/4 inch drawings. I want 4 drawings as PDFs. Read the attached PDF for more grading. Always open every file before you ask anybody questions. So we have core drawing, reflected ceiling, site plan, section drawing, and really, okay. I'll just let the other one be Scout's Honor and that's okay. But if you can't figure out how to scale it to half, let me know because I'm not going to require you to turn that one in. But any mistakes from the past weeks also need to be corrected and that's 20%. So I'm looking for all wall lines to be on the core layer of the floor plan and the section drawing even too. So like the walls with the section drawing to be on the core plan. All windows and doors on their own layers or layers. So like you might have done like a window block layer and a door block layer or a window block layer. It just needs to make sense. I need to see that you're using your flow properly still. All cabinetry on its own layer or layers. That's because some of you did base cabinets and upper cabinets. I recommend putting all text on a text layer, all hatching on a hatching layer. At this point it should already be there. Nothing on layer 0. Layer 0 is not for drawing. Move things on this layer to a layer that makes sense or create one. Okay, so anything on layer 0, whatever that is, because it seems to be a lot for most of you, just pick something. If it's a library block, if it's like something special about your pipe chase, bathroom symbols, put them on layers that make sense, please. And make sure you're consistent because I've looked at some of those 108 plans and they're not on layers anymore, or they're all on one layer. Any of these items left unfixed or unchanged will result in negative 20 points. So it's like pretty steep this week because I've let it go on for a long time and I just want it to be corrected. But these things are going to match the PDFs. 1, 2, 3, 4. How do we make sheets in AutoCAD with what we have? So you are lucky you have an ArchD sheet set up. So technically I could right click this and I could move or copy ArchD and then create a copy. Okay. And now I have 2. And then I could do that 4 times. So I'm going to right click on it, move or copy, create a copy. Okay. And then I'm going to do it again. Right click, move or copy, create a copy. Okay. Now, if you want to change the name, that's a lot of ArchD we got going on. You can just double click on the names here. Okay. So I might make site plan. And then, hold on. I'm clicking, and it got into a menu. Let's see. Reflected ceiling plan, and like these don't really matter necessarily, except for when we go to print them, you'll see that it saves as whatever this name is. So I'll just keep that as that for now. You could type reflected ceiling or RCP is fine. So each of your plans need to be named like this, and because you're starting with an ArchD with this title block on it already, you're pretty much good to go. Just copy them and rename them. So once you've renamed them, they're all at a 1/4 inch scale, which means you're going to have these guys, they're going to be blank and renamed, and then you need to include your viewports. So we saw that already. I type in viewports. I choose single. I click OK. And then I'm going to create a viewport by clicking. And then I'm going to come here and pick my core plan. So here's my core. And if you 108 people want to turn in just this with just this, the same like mine, because it looks like she still has a clean copy, you can do that too. That'd be great. I'm fine either way, your whole floor plan or just this guy for now. So I'm going to delete that junk out. I've kind of centered it, and I'm going to choose to do my 1/8 inch, no, 1/4, sorry. Okay, it's at a 1/4. I can tell by this here says a 1/4 equals a foot. I could then double click out. I can click on this guy and I could lock him. And I have my core plan set up, okay? So, but it should be on my ArchD core plan. But that's how you're setting up a viewport, setting it to a 1/4. You can lock it. Once you lock it, you can't move it. So be ready to have it in place. Let's see if we can't find her reflected ceiling plan. I think it's in the next week, so she doesn't have one, but let's pretend it was this. She has it, same thing, drop down menu, a 1/4. She gets it situated, she closes out, she adjusts her viewport to crop in as much as she can because she might want something like a key or a legend on here later. And she's happy, except she's missing text. So this is where like the 2 things are going to come in. This is really step 1, but I needed to talk about text because we covered it earlier. So then she would want to go into her file that I had open earlier and find the text height for all those little words, which you guys already have it set up because I'm not making you change those things from last week. They're already set up to be the right in model space heights to reflect fine on a 1/4 inch scale. Okay, so I did those heights from model space and gave you the right values that it'll read fine. So your reflected ceiling plan should be good to go after you put it in the window pretty much, except you're going to probably need to add like the little reflected ceiling plan. Maybe. I don't remember if I had you do that in the corner down here. So you're going to do that for each of your sheets. You're going to make a sheet, and then you're going to follow the instructions of how to do the text height, or you're going to come in here, and I guess that's the only other nuance, is if you don't want to do it annotatively, for the text height, you need to come into the scale factor, and wherever I'm saying at a 1/4 inch scale, it's going to be 1/8 inch. You know in your model space, instead you're going to type it in model space at 6. Does that make sense? So if I go into here and I had told you that I wanted you to do it 1/8 inch where we just were in layout, but you're like, no, that looks ridiculous. Then I'm going to do what Shemaine did, and I'm going to say, okay, I know that this is going to end up being 1/4 inch in my layout, and for that, if I look back at my chart, so I know this is what I'm going to print at, and she asked me for 1/8 inch height, so I come down and connect the column with the row, and it equals 6. Okay. Okay. Patricia, did I answer your question with just using the rotate tool for the word 90 degrees?
I think so. I don't think you can do what I was trying to do simply. I think it has to be sort of broken apart.
Are you trying to do like kind of if I was to make like where you do the first letter of every word to a limerick or something, and it's just like a column of letters makes a word?
No, no. When you draw the leader, when you draw the leader and you start typing, I just wanted to take that text and turn it at a right angle, but you really can't. It's attached.
Yeah.
You have to do it separately.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay. So that's the scale factor sheet. So if you want to do it the easy quote way in the model space, and it will be easier in your lives, okay, then you have to convert this. And that shows me you're understanding somewhat, at least, how to use this chart. Maybe not all of the stuff that goes behind it. So I'm going to close out the scale factor guide that covers add text and PDFs. So I want 4. What it doesn't cover is how to make them into PDFs. So let's go back to some of this stuff. So Shemaine has done her due diligence. She has her site plan on here, which isn't really here, but she's ready to print. So we go up to our printer. This is the fun part. Just click continue to plot. And then from your drop-down printer, you're going to click Adobe PDF. And you can preview it if you want to. Oh, it's lovely. It has my whole title block and my whole thing, and I know it's at 1/4 inch because I set it up. So I can hit the X up here because I liked my preview, and I can click OK. It's going to ask me where I want to save this, and I'm going to choose desktop, and I'm going to type in, that's interesting, I'm going to see if something else changes this site plan, and then you could do Spear, site plan, however you want to remember it. I'll be pretty lenient with saving this, but try to at least do site plan somewhere in the name and save. And then it'll show your PDF. There it is. I'm ready to send it to the architect. That simple. Anyone need me to cover it one more time? Printing. I'm going to do it anyway. I click on my little printer. I click continue to plot. Let's see what happens. Like some of you, I have PDF Creator. Do you have PDF Creator? It's a junky version of PDF. Yes? No? There's also drawing to PDF. So if I click drawing to PDF, let's see if it does the saving like I want to. Let's preview it. Looks the same, looks nicer. So this might be the one we use. It looks like it cut off more. And then I hit X because I'm happier with that. And then I click OK. This is the one I want. I want drawing to a PDF because look at that. That's exactly what I want it to be saved as. So it says Spear and the file name. This is why we do this. It tells you the pathing of everything that you've done up to that point, so you can be like, what file did this go with? All right, I can get back in there and print it for future use. So it says site plan like the tab says site plan. This is the one we use. So strike what I said before. So drawing to PDF, not Adobe PDF, because it'll include the drawing information. Okay, so we're all good to go. Now everybody...
Okay, I'm looking on my thing and I don't see that option.
So when you drop down, it's way down there. It should definitely be an option. It comes with AutoCAD. Everybody else, look, if you can.
AutoCAD, PDF, general documentation, high quality print, smallest file, web and mobile.
Did you go to your printer, this guy?
Is it DWG to PDF?
Yes. Yes, yes,
Okay.
it is. So DWG to PDF. Yes, ma'am. I'm
Is that the
open.
same thing it said on your thing, or did it seriously
Yep,
say drawing?
that's what it
print?
said. It said DWG.
Okay,
I
do
just like
this.
translate it in my AutoCAD brain to be drawing because that's what it means.
Okay, sorry. I've got
No,
two
that's okay.
computer
That's
screens
probably
open,
might be
looking at
someone
CAD
else's
on
question.
one, and never mind.
Okay, so let me go back to here. Exterior office core. So this is preparing us for SketchUp, and this will like be a very necessary step to do our SketchUp in the following week. It'll help give you less homework, and that way you can focus on easier things in SketchUp than doing both CAD and SketchUp too. So even though we're not starting it, oh, we gotta go back. And I'm gonna have this file put into the 108 class for your friends who aren't in this class. So open, here it is. Look, I made the dimensions big this week, like really big. So you're drawing this guy. This is gonna be our pool, house, office, exterior building, whatever you want to call it. And let me show you what it looks like in SketchUp. So open SketchUp. This is not the SketchUp I want. Why does everything always have to be convoluted in this darn Ivy Tech settings of my computer? I have to open 17. Always wants to open with 16. File open. Here it is. This is what you're going to be drawing. Not this week, but this is what you're doing. You're creating a floor plan for this house. So we could see the columns here, the door, and one window. You know, I might be missing one dimension. Let's see. If I go back to PDF from your homework, oh, I am missing it. It's a 30-inch window. Are we drawing that in AutoCAD and in SketchUp? You're drawing it in AutoCAD, and then we're going to import this next week into SketchUp, and it'll be real easy to draw your walls that way as opposed to drawing them with no existing core. And it'll help you see how you export back and forth. So just in AutoCAD, Sam, that's the simple answer. Okay, so that's available to you. It's a real simple draw thing. All the columns are the same. They're all 1 foot by 1 foot columns. The door is, I believe, 36 inches. I did 1'6" on the pole side of the door. I am missing something here, but just draw it this way and then we'll fix it in SketchUp next week. There's a door to get into this bathroom. It's just not on here because I hadn't decided. There's no way with this sizing that our handicap son of the client would be able to get into the bathroom, but his access to this space is enough for what it is. It's her office space, so we're fine. At least I modified this. Anything bigger would make this building even bigger on our site plan. I haven't actually checked this with our site plan yet to see how big, so we could do that for a second and see. I have a feeling it's going to be really big, but this was the one we agreed on. So if I was
Do
to...
you want us to draw this in SketchUp?
Nope. Whose voice was that? Devin?
Devin, yeah.
No, Devin. So for this week, I'm just giving you the PDF of the footprint with all the dimensions, and you're drawing it in AutoCAD.
Okay.
And then what will happen is we'll export that core from AutoCAD to SketchUp in the following week, and it'll make drawing all the walls really easy. So let's see. If I go back into my Shemaine file, which I'm in, and I go to Model Space by clicking on the Model tab, and I click on my Outbuilding Core, and I have to be in Model Space here too. And I'm going to Control Copy it and go into Shemaine's plan, and then Control V it. So it's this big, and there's rules and regulations of where it can go on the site plan. It's pretty big, but for all the stuff that Cheryl wanted it to do with entertaining, it had to have a place to eat, so there's a little place to eat outside. There's a kitchen out here. You're going to put lockers up in this space. There's a little bathroom, and then there's enough space for her office, and then something special that you want to add. We'll see once you get furniture in there. Notice it changed my ridiculous dimensions because I cheated at how I made them in my other file. But It's not that bad. We'll have to see what happens in 108. So pretty good size of space. In our instructions for 108, it says the bathroom has to be accessible from both the inside and the outside. Do we not have an exterior door giving that access? We don't anymore. So Kate, I talked with Cheryl and we just decided it would be too big and it would be fine to have the lockers like interior, whereas I think before that you had to be able to access those lockers in bathroom interior, exterior. Now it's just going to be an interior and then it's going to be right in the main entrance and that's how we're going to run it. Yep. If anything changes, I'll let you know, but I think that's how it is it's become a little bit smaller and less technical. So that's our guy. That's the third piece of your homework. Any questions that are outstanding? And there's our nice version. All wall thicknesses are 6 inches. I didn't do anything fancy with plumbing. That's okay. A lot of times, like if you were to Google or Pinterest, pool outhouse buildings or mother-in-law suites, they're not going to do all of those wall thicknesses like the 8 inches. The contracting side of it is fine for all of our other floor plans. This is about space planning and materials. This is about general quick SketchUp model for my client, okay? This is a whole different ball game. And the space planning, we need to have this, right? But like our wall thicknesses, it doesn't matter. It's more like, oh, here's what you possibly will do. We're not treating it like a construction document. No reflected ceiling plan or anything else. Okay, so I will trust that everyone knows what they're doing. Let's talk about SketchUp because I think that's the last thing on my homework to talk with you about. Oh, no, one more thing. I'm so glad I've got these video agendas. Keep me on task. To complete homework, you must download these dimensions and textiles file is very important, okay? So if I open this file, it'll download styles copy down here. This is for all you 108 people, more so than for my people. There's nothing in here, right? But there really is. So if I go under dimension style and I look, I've given you dimensions for 1/8 scale. So that means if I go into the layout and I had dimensioned them in my space using this style in model space, it's going to look nice on a 1/8 inch scale print. If I'm going to print it at 3/4 scale, this textile will look nice. If I'm going to print it at 1/2 inch scale, this textile will look nice, but notice that this one is, it's going to be in inches than in feet and inches. I could also use this 3/4 inch style for 1/2 inch style if I wasn't using feet and inches. So these are just nice things to have. I just want you to have them for the homework as part of your homework to download them and incorporate them because you'll use them in 108. And my students, like I'm giving you this stuff that you'll use for if you join a firm and they don't have something set up, this will make your life easier. So I download these 3 styles using the insert and the design center. And I would open that font copy file. I would go into my dim styles and I would pick 96 for 3/4. I would pick, am I in? Oh, not font copy, style copies. And then go to dimension style and then all of these 3, 1/2, 1/8, and 3/4. I just drag and drop them into my Shemaine file so that I have them, okay? Let me talk about, I think that I made it right. So if I go to annotate and I pick the 1/2 inch scale, unless it didn't save it, and turn this guy on. Two 283. Okay. So I need to give myself an idea of scale though, because right now I don't have anything for you to know how tiny or big that was. So let's do this as 10 foot. Okay. Okay, that makes more sense. I was like, I swear I adjusted that dimension style. So if I go into my annotation and I select dim 24 for 1/2 inch scale, notice I did that like kitchen and bath. This is your kitchen and bath style. So look how nice that is. At 1/2 inch, it's going to be architectural tick, and 120 inches at a nice readable font size. No, Heather, you're not reading it right. So if you want your text to print at 1/8 inch, no matter what, there's nothing you can do about that. But if the no matter what means no matter which scale you're printing to, there's no way to adjust it. It's not like a bouncy text where like I could have a text I could use that. I just click on 1/4 inch and then it's going to automatically adjust, or I click on a 1/2 inch. It's either going to be as small as the drawing is as on the screen or as big. But if you set it up annotatively, you can at least know in your layout size that that's going to print to whatever inch architectural ruler it says in the layout size. If you put something in here, then you have to know what size you're going to end up putting it out on your layout. Does that make sense? It's like I have to know if I'm in here that I'm going to be printing at a 1/4 inch, and then it'll end up being at 1/8 size architectural scale because I use 6 inches in model space using that chart. It's super technical. I think we could review it another time if you'd like to. It might make more sense when you're doing it with like conjoining the row to the column for your homework. So everybody listen though, this is the beautiful text style that you use for kitchen and bath. I created it. It was a pain in the butt, but now you have it for free. Don't ever lose it. Copy those styles, and then I think I did the font style again to be the city blueprint, but you don't have to if you understand how we can change our fonts. Okay, so just make sure we copy them over because eventually we can use it to dimension in our layout, mostly for 108, but now it's going to be nice for other things in our class as well. Okay, so I'm going to go back. Add text, exterior color, PDF. I'm not going to turn this guy on. I think that this is plenty to do for this week. So there will be no quiz. We'll survive without it. Any questions? I think I hit them all in the chat so far. Okay. All right. There is history class, so I'll see some of you there in a few minutes. Go ahead and take a break and stand and stretch or whatever else you need to do, and you can email me with any questions that you have.
Allison?
Yeah, Patricia.
I have two general questions. One is you mentioned a shift minus, something that you could
Yeah.
do when you're in a sequence of things and just gets rid of the last one without completely undoing all of it.
Yeah.
Do I have that right? Shift minus?
Yes, that is correct. So like if I had collected these guys, but I didn't want this top line, and I hold shift, if I hold shift down, so you don't have to hit minus, maybe that's what you're thinking. If I hold shift down, it shows me the little minus symbol, and then I click on that while I'm holding shift, and it goes away. It's not part of my selection anymore.
You hold shift and you click on the minus.
You just click on the line.
Or
so,
just click in general?
Yep, click on the line that you
okay.
don't want.
All right. Okay, all right. And then the other thing is when I want to explode a block,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to take. It's like 2 or 3 times. I must be doing something wrong. It seems so simple, but I don't know why I can't seem to explode it easily.
Okay. When do you have your file open?
I do somewhere here. I've got yeah. Okay, on this one
Sam
right
did.
here,
Uh-huh.
can you see my, so I made this exterior line black because I was having such trouble seeing it, and
Okay.
I couldn't seem to make it right scale. I think I might have finally gotten it 0.5.
So go home. Oh, okay. Yeah, it says it's 0.5.
Okay, all right. So it just didn't happen easily. I mean, shouldn't I be able to, like, now that I'm on that line, change the line weight easily, or do I have to take it off the layer first?
No, you don't have to adjust anything with the layers. So you could even change it from the properties panel. So like where it said that 5, but right now it says 0. Oh wait, no, line weight right there. If you click on it, nope, down, up. You were close before. Yeah, click on it and drop down arrow. You could change it from here, to be honest with you. It's the same
So
difference.
if I do the 7 and then I hit enter, that should do it.
Yes.
Now I've hit enter, and now this is still highlighted. What do I do next?
So let's escape off of it. Just hit escape. Now click on the line again. It's 0.7.
Okay, it took. Okay, and then if I were to hit LT scale, that should allow me to, okay, now it says it's 0.5.
No, you don't have anything selected right now. The line is not selected.
So let's say,
So that's just, it says no selection there.
oh, so, but, okay, wait a second here. So I have this selected, and now I want to type LT scale.
You don't need to have anything selected to change the LT scale. The LT scale controls like dashed lines, center lines, anything that has a pattern to it. So it's more about the line type than the line weight. You're not going to change the line weight using the LT scale.
I see. That's where I went wrong.
Okay. So that's why when we did the dashed lines for the kitchen, we changed it to 3 or bigger so that we could see them.
Yeah. Okay. So now the other way, so on this, you showed me how to do it here. Is there another way to change that thickness as well? What's the other way?
So close out of that little properties bar that you have open in the left and go to home just so I can get my bearings right again. And then if you have the line selected right now, if you click on layer properties under the, open that guy up. And then we could there's a couple different ways. So we could do it from here and have created a layer, and then from in here, is that the layer that it's on, perimeter?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So in there is where you could make the line weight for all of anything on the perimeter layer to be 0.7. But now let me tell you this. So everything should have changed that was on there before. So let's check that. So check another wall, not the one you clicked last time. Click a different wall. Okay. And then let's do that properties checker. Line type scale.
And it just
by layer. Okay. So that is 0.7. Okay, so now listen to me. So click on the other guy that you made 0.7 earlier. So that tells me it is. You can't tell, but it
But where do
is.
you see that? Oh, I was going to say, I can't see that at all. Okay.
You're
So,
not going to because you set it by layer, so you just have to have faith in the AutoCAD Lord that it is going to be 0.7 for everything on that layer that says by layer, because you know you set your layer. This guy,
okay.
no. Notice this guy, because you manually clicked him once and changed his line weight to
Yes.
0.7. He's 0.7 because we manually corrected him. You could change him back to by layer, and then whenever you change your layer, it'll change with it like all the rest of the walls. So you could either have
Okay. All right.
selected them all and manually change them all at once, but not by layer, or you could control them with layers and have them know that it says by layer. Okay?
Yes, that's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Um,
Okay.
Sam, you said you had a hard time trying to see the thicknesses. So they're not going to change in your model space. You're never going to see them changing. You can only tell if they're changing by doing what Trisha did and checking their properties. The only time I can't explain it to you really why it's set up to be this way, but you'll see the change when you're in Yes, when you're in your architectural space and your layout space and you print it. So we have to set it and we have to print preview and then we can check it. Yep, no problem.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So Trisha, did that work out for you? Like if you go down to where that perimeter is and then you printed it and it shows them thicker when you printed it?
Well, I didn't print it yet because I was struggling with that.
Okay, all right.
For
So
the getting it into this space, and you showed me the lock. You showed us in class the lock factor tonight, and I hadn't realized that I had a lock on
oh,
mine.
okay.
So that was why I wasn't able to get it
Gotcha.
set and printing properly.
Okay. Any other burning questions? Are we supposed to print our drawings for our homework? Yes, and that is clearly laid out. Oh, well, not in history. That'll confuse the junk out of you. So let's go to CAD 2017 because we're done with 16. And then class sessions, under 7, under homework, there's 3 tasks. There's the text of the
Are you?
drawing. Oh, you
Did
have
you
my
take the?
screen. She can't see, she
Yes.
still sees Trisha's screen. Okay, I will make
Can you?
it my screen. Show my screen. Okay.
Great. Thanks.
So now, when I'm under the homework, there's the 3 tasks. Adding text to my drawing, the exterior office court, and plotting. You're going to plot these 4 plans at a 1/4 inch on a D-size layout, which should automatically be in your drawing that we set up because they had you use that architectural imperial template. So we saw I just copied it 4 times and then I renamed them to be these things. And then after I put all my text in on my plan or in my layout, then I would do the printing step for homework. And there'll be like clear directions for all of the text. And then for this, that's pretty much all you need with the video is we create the 4 layouts, we organize our little layout, like our site plan and our core on those 1/4 inch layouts. And after we add the text to them, either in the layout or in model space, we're ready to click the printer button and choose drawing to PDF to print it.
So we're not actually physically printing it onto paper?
No, never.
Never.
No, I had to do that as a student, and it'll run you like $50 for 4 prints at Triangle Drafting. But we don't need to do that anymore because you guys present your PowerPoints digitally on screen in class for juries. And unless you really want to, because I can tell you it's nice to have a big full-size print. So if you ever do print something on a D size at a 1/4 inch, just print one of your overall furniture plan and maybe one of your overall like core or floor plan. And that way they have a big one that they can kind of follow with you, but it's fine to have it on the screen as well. So that's why we don't care about you printing everything big. We can just go through the tabs of the PDFs.
Thanks.
I had a question about the hatching. If you have 3 or 4 types
Oh,
of
yeah.
hatching in one drawing, do you set all those on just one layer of hatch, all the different types,
So
or are they 4 different layers?
I would be fine with you putting all of your hatching on one layer, regardless of if it's hatching for this or if it's hatching for this, and regardless of if it's diagonal hatching or if it's solid hatching, because the only reasons I need to toggle my hatching on and off are mostly like some of you were finding when you were dimensioning things. Once you have your hatching, sometimes it like doesn't want to snap to those points because it clicks to points of the hatching. So that's where I want to click my hatching layer. This is a moment of truth. So let's see, H. Is there even a hatching layer? Oh, there it is. Okay. So she turns it off and then she can click it. And it turns everything off. Like there's no other reason for it to be on a different layer unless for some reason your client was like, I need to see only the pipe chases hatched, and then you'd know you just put them on a separate layer. But having the
I
different
see.
varieties won't affect anything.
Okay, thank you.
It's just a management question. So who else has a question? Did someone say hello for a second and then disappear? I've got a question for Devin. So Devin, when you use SketchUp at work, what is it for? What are you doing at your work?
I work for a natural stone fabricator, so I do slab layouts with SketchUp.
Oh, that's cool. So when you get your
Yep.
files, is it mostly like pretty simple rectangular boxes, or do they have like,
Yeah,
okay, so you don't have like a
it's
full
pretty
kitchen?
simple.
Okay.
No, because I just do before the designer. I like basically lay it out to tell the designer how many slabs they need for each project.
Mm-hmm. So when you use SketchUp, are you simply showing the model, or do you print from SketchUp using SketchUp layout? Do you use layout?
Just the SketchUp model.
Okay, not like a fancy what I did with the architectural sheets here kind of thing.
No,
Okay.
no, it's just basic rectangles and whatnot.
Okay. Let's talk basic SketchUp questions for the night. So how many of you got a license saying it will at least maybe be coming, or, is there anybody who's dying? I know some people know they're going to use it in the lab. Some people know they have it for a version for Mac, and I said it's pretty close if you have to do that. It should work out for this, not for AutoCAD. It might be like a pain in the butt sometimes, but it should work out. And so the only thing, Devin, there's only going to be one instance where it's going to matter, but I'm trying to think if it'll even matter this semester anymore. So if you export to CAD, you import from CAD. That'll be the only piece. Is your Mac, does it have AutoCAD on it? Like whatever kind.
No,
So how about for
no, it
me,
doesn't.
because we're just going to use it for importing and exporting and saving files, can you also
Uh-huh.
download SketchUp for Mac? Because you should be able to have it on two, you know what I mean? Like 2 versions for free as a student on 2 different computers.
You mean AutoCAD?
Yeah, that's what I meant, sorry. So
Yeah, I can try that.
So just have it, because that's the only stop I can think of is we'll need to like be able to export a file, and if you don't have CAD on your Mac as well, we can't just do that one missing step that we need to
Right.
work. Okay.
Okay.
So let me look down my list. Do I have any other questions for you guys? So make sure you're organizing your things to be on layers too, you core people. And your hatches is still on hatching layers. Let's see. Anything else special here? No. More questions?
Can I ask a general question?
Yeah, I love questions.
Okay. So I'm trying to do a backyard renovation, well, putting it on CAD, one that I've already done. So I have this large section of field tile, like 28 by 22, and what's the easiest way to repeat that layout?
Field tile. You're saying it's just like
Like
squares?
I've got, well, there's a 19 by 13, there's a 6 by 13, and then a 13 by 13, and I'm putting them in consecutive order. And oh boy, you should just pull up my screen right now and see where I am.
All right, sure. Let's
But
see, Trisha. I think I get what you're laying down. And okay, so
I started with these 6-inch perimeter pieces. Well, they're perimeter here, but then these are the 19 and 13 and 6 that I mentioned. And all of this, I've decided they're supposed to just repeat these. And I hadn't actually drawn that out on paper. I just specified it. And so I've got my fire pit, and now I just wanted to put this in a visual.
Is it, so
them,
that layout, is it like is it just simple like that, like next to each other as at the top, or does it rotate or off, you know, like offset, if you know what I mean, like the pattern?
I can't remember what I did, so I have to look at my notes.
Well,
I know I did this whole perimeter with these tiles, and then I banded it with the 6-inch ones, so I have to get those around it. And then I have columns here that I have to create with the benches. And these large tiles have to be in here and in this center box, and I just have to figure out how to place them in this area most easily. And do you just have to continually copy or create bigger sections?
Yeah, I do the create bigger sections. So initially you are going to create, you know, however many, like at the top where you have a line of those, and then once you've created a line of them, then I would just copy that whole line about the corner and pull it down and click to the next corner to the next corner. But you would need to know your layout. So if you're going to go horizontally like that, yeah.
Right.
I would tile, I'd tile like 6 together.
These just took forever to mirror and repeat, and I thought maybe there was an easier way to do it, but it sounds like that's probably the best so far.
Yeah, so you mirrored like quite a few of them, right? Is that right? You did like 9?
I did.
Okay, then you're doing it right, Trisha.
Right.
Sounds like you're saving yourself a little bit of time. The answer though is like,
I thought it would.
Here, I'm going, there's, did you say it's smaller than you thought it would be?
Slower.
Oh, slower. The answer is like if you were in SketchUp, this is like, we've got a little bit of time. Make me the presenter again, show my screen, and open my SketchUp file. So like you could have gone online and found that pattern that you were going to use for the tile, or created that first one and exported it in and created it as an image, and then gone to your little paint bucket, and within the paint bucket, so let's say, and I'll be showing you how to create tiles actually. So let's say this was your tile that you created in AutoCAD. Then you would be able to come into that tile and edit it, and see this 1 inch by 1 inch. You could change the size and repeat of it to be whatever it's supposed to be. So if it's 6 foot all together, that tile pattern, and then when you want to, you could just paint it on and it would tile the whole way through.
Okay, and then you just plop your fire pit down in the middle wherever you want to.
Yep,
Basically.
exactly. So like you could paint any type of texture, you just set the parameter, unlike AutoCAD where you have to like create the whole parameter.
Okay, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, SketchUp would be better for these backyard makeovers.
Yeah, most likely it would. Um, yeah, I would say yeah. If you want to tile patterns, yes.
Okay, all right. Very helpful, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's all leave a little early so we have space in between our other class. Okay.
Sounds good.
You're
Thanks.
dismissed.